just a bloke in a bar.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to a very special episode of Bloke in a Bar, brought to you by Menulog. And we just got the feed delivered literally just then. Only took 20, 30 minutes. I got the feed from Calypso Cafe and Juice Bar in Woolite Creek. And this episode's brought to you by Menulog, who's currently one of the greatest comebacks of all time with a better browsing experience, enhanced courier features like tracking and courier chat, and very recently, automatic refunds for missing items. So get around Menulog, and I'll be having this feed later, that's for sure. And obviously got our drinks here as well. But I got the big fella here. How you going? Euan Aitken.
Good, thanks, mate. Yourself?
Mate, you're down in Sydney now. It's changing club. It's always this kind of like nervous energy, but also excitement with the fresh start. How are you feeling?
Yeah, definitely can be pretty nervous. I didn't know too many of the boys at South, so but it was a good chance to come back a bit closer to home. It's sort of where I wanted to retire, whether here in Sydney or down in Wollongong, I think. So yeah, it's good coming back here, and beautiful spot in Sydney as well. Can't complain when close to the beach. Yep. 5 minutes and then 5 minutes from training, so it's good.
And I guess the decision to come, because like the Dolphins it's a bloody good club, and you know, to be a part of the inaugural, you know, a side coming into the NRL, that's special as well. You're building really well, and I'm also sure that the Dolphins were really keen to keep you. I guess the decision to move to the Rabbitohs, how did it come about?
Yeah, it was a tough one. Yeah, well, I was sort of on the lookout for a contract. Dolphins said they were keen to keep me. They sort of wanted to move a couple of players at the start, and then obviously South come along. Wayne Bennett come to training the next day after he signed and said, I'll give you a 2-3 year deal at South, and then that sort of spurred Dolphins to act a bit faster, and yeah, so it was definitely a difficult decision. I think Dolphins are on the up as well. I'm at a point in my career where I want to win. I've had probably a couple of rough years throughout my career. Most of them have been rough, to be honest. Been in the bottom 8, so it's not where you want to be. But yeah, it was a tough one because I had made some good relationships up in the Dolphins there, and Wolfie I reckon he'll be a great coach there as well. So to leave wasn't an easy decision to make, but I think yeah, the opportunity to come back to a team that's sort of got a really good squad of players that just probably had a bit of unlucky times throughout the year with injuries. So Wayne, I know what Wayne's about, which was another factor that factored in. Benny Hornby was my coach in 20s. So
yeah, the great Benny Hornby.
Yeah, so and just being a bit closer to family was a main one too. So. Yep.
Because you just have a child, oh, not just, but you've got a child.
Yeah. So just had she's 14 months now, Audrey. So yeah, it's been a lot to my life over the last 14 months, and we've got another one on the way, which is exciting. So it's all happening with our family.
And do you have more family close by here?
Yeah,
you would have, but your partner.
Yeah, sort of. We're in the middle a bit now.
Okay.
So my family's from far south coast in Pembula, but my little brother lives in Wollongong, which is cool. So he'll be around the corner, and Kirsty's mum comes down for work a fair bit. So
okay, that's good.
So we still get a little bit of family stuff. It's not exactly close, but yeah, we've sort of dealt with it a fair few times in the past, and so we're a bit used to it now.
Mate, I tell you what is bizarre, like, and this is just outside looking in, but I remember when I was younger, I didn't have kids, and I would hear people say they signed because to be closer to home or closer to family. And I understand why some fans can get frustrated with that. And granted, it's a very different situation for you. You were actually off contract, so it's not like you're releasing early or whatever. So when I was younger, I didn't get it because I was just like, oh, come on, mate. Like, you sign a contract or whatever and you want to move. However, when you do have a kid and you realise how important it is to have family close by, because like at the moment, my wife's family lives in Canberra and my family live in Queensland. Yep. My sister is here, but she's about 45 minutes away and she's got her own family as well. To have family close by genuinely is life-changing, like, because, you know, the amount of times that you might need them to help take care of the kid, but also you want your child to bond with them as well. It really is a huge factor in your decision-making, a huge factor in decision-making that I took for granted until I had kids myself.
Yeah, definitely. It's something you sort of don't think about too quickly. There's a lot of things before that, especially as a player, you sort of want to succeed, and you sort of know there's a bit of sacrifice to be put there. Kirsty's followed me around ever since she's been at the Dragons, so she knows what it's about, and can't thank her enough for that. So, but she understands that the playing career is very short, so you try to make decisions that sort of benefit you in the long run. This one, who knows? It's yet to be seen whether it was the right decision, but I'm happy with it at the moment, and I think it gets me closer to home, and I think we can do some good things this year with South if we get a bit of luck.
Yep. And so at the Dolphins this year, really interesting year, because at one point it was like, wow, the 8 is close. I mean, not at one point, almost like three quarters through the year. And then it just seemed like just ran out a bit of energy towards the end of the year. And granted, you've just been so unlucky with not just injury, but like key players getting injured, and not for a little time, for like a long time. How would you kind of wrap your year up at the Dolphins as a team?
Yeah, I'd say the same. We started off pretty good. You know, we were up top 4 for a long time there. So it was probably quite disappointing to not make the 8 in the end there. So, but you were right. There was key positions that got injured. Goes to show how much injuries can affect the team. There's usually you got your 20 players that are really good, and then you get a little bit of drop off with your depth. So, but as soon as you start losing a couple of players that are really good players in your team, it's going to affect any team. Some more than others, but I think probably putting it down to that was we lost Fleggy, Tom Gilbert before we even kicked the ball off.
Herbie even missed a few games as well. Jeremy Marshall King was out for a couple of games.
I think Marshall King was probably our most important player, to be honest. He sets our team around. He's a really good defender at hooker, plus he's really creative, so he creates a bit of attack opportunities. So, so just a few things fell away from us, and then I think probably lost a bit of steam as well, a little bit of confidence, but they sort of bring it back, and then whether they got a couple of selections wrong the back end of the year for that last game, but it's hard to know because Broncos, we pumped them. So
it was like a great decision, and then
then again, it might have been a bit of recency bias there because Broncos didn't play great. So whether it made us look a bit better than we actually were, and then there was a few boys with injuries around that game, and so Wayne had to make some decisions. I think he might have said that he made the wrong decision with Cody Nicarima not starting, but he admitted that at presentation night. But as I said, everyone's sort of, it's a hard decision to make when you've just blown someone off the park, isn't
100%.
it? So, but then again, Knights showed up, so it wasn't. I don't think it was anything against the Knights. They were a really good team, and they showed up that day and defended really well, which made it hard for us.
Yeah. What's it? Actually, no, we'll get to it eventually. Okay, so and you've just started pre-season at the Rabbitohs. How many days ago did you start training at the Rabbitohs?
So I actually come in for a few weeks just for rehab and getting some physio and stuff. So it sort of made my transition pretty good. Met a few boys there. There's a bit of a casualty ward at the South at the moment. So they're working on all the injuries, getting everyone back on the field. So they had a really rough year, all that sort of thing. So it's only been probably 3 weeks now, I think, of full-time training. But it's been good. It feels like I've stepped in the future with the facilities they've got down there. That's for sure. So I think we're pretty lucky there.
And what was the vibe like rocking up first day? Is there? I mean, look, most squads are relatively similar. Like the boys are the boys. They're just different names a lot of the time. There are obviously differences, but I guess what's the unique kind of feel at the moment you're getting from the Rabbitohs boys?
Yeah, it's a real friendly club and family club. That's what I get first off. Seems like everyone gets along with everyone, which is good. Seems like there's a good culture there. So if you know that's a tick straight away, that's a good thing because then you can build the footy stuff after that. So if the culture's wrong, well, you know that's going to take a long time to change. So but it's like anything. It is, you are right. Like a lot of footy players have got similar interests and all that sort of thing. So, and I'm getting a bit older now too. So I've been in a few different clubs. You sort of get used to this sort of thing, and then you've either met players or know of players through different friends. So it can be a bit easier the older you get.
I think social media as well has changed a lot because I think before social media, when you played someone, you really just didn't know who they were. They were like so foreign to you. You might meet them out on the drink sometimes, but very rarely do you know them. Whereas like I think social media, like because your mate might be mates with them, you'll see their social media, you'll kind of get an idea of kind of like what they're like as a bloke to a degree obviously. Mate, has it always been rugby league for you, or is it something that kind of, came to you later on in life?
Nah, it's always been rugby league for me. I've got 3 brothers and they all played. 2 are older as well. So my dad played rugby league, bit of rugby union when he was younger. It's sort of always been a part of me. I started playing when I was 4.5. I wasn't even actually legally allowed to play at the time because you had to be 5 to be able, because it was under 7, so it was too big of an age gap. So I played like 3 or 4 games before they realised I hadn't turned 5 yet. So had to pull me back for a bit. So I've been playing ever since I can remember.
Yeah, okay.
So it's been good. I've always had keen interest in been a student at school and stuff like that. I'm now currently finishing my 3rd degree at university. So
wow, what degree doing? What 3rd degree?
The Masters in Financial Planning. So
no way.
Yeah. So
holy.
I sort of fumbled my way through uni a little bit, sort of not knowing what I really want to do. But started off as exercise science, then went Master in Business, and then Master in Financial Planning now. So just got a keen grasp with trying to help people. There's a lot of wealth management sort of strategies you can in place to save money or grow your wealth. So the idea was to sort of help young players sort of get an ideas so they're not sort of wasting their money spending on the wrong things, and just giving them a bit of more of a focus and a plan of what they want to do. So that's sort of the idea I had with financial planning.
Man, I always find it bizarre. You don't realise it when you're in school, but like money is, it's arguably the most important thing in life outside of health, maybe. Actually, no. Well, health is definitely the most important thing. Then it probably is money, because that's what helps you live. And yet at school, we don't get taught any literacy, financial literacy at all. We don't get taught to do our taxes. We don't get taught any kind of strategies, or even just like, we don't even get taught relationships with money, And I always found that quite bizarre, like that it's arguably more important than, aside from your base things like maths and English, it's probably like could be considered one of the most important things. And yet most of us you could consider most of us financially illiterate to a degree. Where do you reckon that passion come from, the financial side of things?
I've always had a keen interest in money and sort of trying to put my money into good places to help sort of grow. And I suppose the COVID sort of impacts that had on everyone. You've seen the markets drop, and I suppose a few boys were sort of dibbling and dabbling with different things like that. So I sort of just grew my interest from that, and then I just realised that there's a lot of strategies, and people were really scared of stocks, but the reason why is people usually sell when they shouldn't, and they don't have a long-term focus. Trying to get rich quick it's not the best idea.
It's never going to work.
It's too risky. So. But also getting rich slow is boring. So it's just trying to get that message across. So, that's probably where it started. And I also like helping people,
Yeah, okay.
You don't want people to sort of be in a bad place after they've been in sport, or even with their day-to-day job. You want to put their money in the right place so you make them grow and hopefully set themselves up so they're less stressed later in life.
Yeah, it's a strange thing that we have such a kind of, everyone has such a unique relationship to money, and it's usually not a great one, and yet it is like almost the lifeblood of survival. It's a currency to live. The amount of times I think it's probably getting better now because NRL clubs sit down with players and talk to them about it. But I mean, you go back 15 years, 20 years, and like, although the NRL clubs tried, the amount of young fellas that were given like these big contracts, and they're like 18 years old, and they're just in there, because I'll never forget the first time I didn't have to check my bank account whether I had enough money to pay a bill. And it was like this very weird feeling of like, almost I had to spend the money. Like, and I don't know why I felt that way, but I was just like, that money's in my account, I better spend it. And it sounds so stupid now, but like as an 18-year-old, you're not thinking like that. Yeah,
well, going back to your point with that financial literacy sort of point, it should be taught at schools. Like, I think they need to adapt that, and because there's so many behavioural biases that can occur with that thing, depending how your mum and dad spent money, your friends. There's a few different things that can go into that. So yeah, if you're giving a young 18-year-old with no education around it a lump sum of money, you don't expect them to spend it wisely.
Especially when they've never had money, like they come from a family that doesn't have much money
and that's
either.
The thing with rugby league, most of us sort of come from a low socioeconomic background or not the wealthiest from families. So if a few strategies need to be in place just so they can manage their money a bit better, and also giving people the education where they sort of understand it as well helps as well.
And mate, so as a young fella, you grew up, did you grow up in the South Coast?
Yeah.
Whereabouts did you grow up?
A little small town called Panmure. It's about 6 hours from Sydney south.
Okay, and so how many people lived it? Like, what was the population of that?
I can't tell you off the top of my head, but I'd say Panmure itself is probably only 4,000 to 6,000 people or something.
Yeah,
like
okay,
that.
so it's small.
So there's a few towns in the area that are sort of quite close together though, so it probably brings the population up. We used to travel to Eden to go to high school, and then we had primary school in Panmure, so it was sort of cool. We used to have a bit of a rivalry because you had the Eden team and Panmure team, so we used to go to school to verse each other on the weekends and talk shit during the week, so it was quite fun.
That's mad. So how long did you have to drive to school each day?
It's about 15-20 minutes.
Oh, okay, so it's not too long.
No,
and so who was your team growing up?
Remember playing Bulldogs.
Okay, no, sorry, who was your NRL team growing up?
I actually used to support the Bulldogs because I used to play for the Bulldogs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
the doggies, eh?
Yeah, so like Luke Patton, Brent Sherwin, sort of that era. Which
so you would have been the early 2000s.
Yeah, where they won the grand final in 2024. So yeah, that was sort of the guys are sort of eyes. Hazem El Masri too. He was so small, but sort of punched above his weight. And then his goal kicking was impressive too, the way he used to make it bend. So.
Bro, his goal kicking was another level, seriously. And so you started playing sport at a really young age. Did you play any other sports at all, or was it just mainly league?
I had a crack at AFL. I made the under-15 South Coast side.
No way.
From school, but I wasn't a great kicker. All my mates tell you that anyway. But they used to just put me in the middle, and then because I was pretty fit.
Yep.
And they used to put me on their best player and just mark him all day and just make his sort of life sort of hell, tackling and just handball the ball to one of the better kickers.
Yep. Okay. And so you start playing league at a very young age. When did it? Because like some people's lives is like fully dedicated to their sport. Other people's, they play it for a bit of fun, but they focus on education or whatever. What do you reckon the balance was for you?
I definitely loved playing rugby league, but I was sort of I was one of the guys down home, We used to go bodyboarding, spearfishing, just hang around, go to parties and that sort of thing. It sort of wasn't till I was probably maybe, I got signed from the Dragons like when I was 14 and a half, so quite young.
Yep.
They come down to watch me play in a major semi-final for, under 16s? So I think it might have been, so under 16, so I was a year young, so we didn't have under 15. So, and I had like a blinder, scored 4 tries and that, so they wanted to sign me straight. They were trying to get me off the field actually, which is
no
funny.
way. What?
And then because my dad was coach, he was trying to pull me off the field, and I was like, I'm not going off the field. Like, why are you trying to take me off the field? So
it was the Dragons trying to get you off, so you wouldn't more people would realise that you were playing well, or
yeah, pretty much. I didn't want more people to see that I was playing so well. And,
oh my god.
So yeah, which is pretty crazy. So yeah, I signed that, but I still didn't know if I was that good, to be honest, because it's a small group 16.
Yep.
It's not one of your stronger comps. So yeah, I still didn't know whether this was going to be me or not. So I still just continued life as much as normal. I didn't move up to Wollongong until I was 16 turned 17. So, but when I realised I was good was, I think it might have been the under 15s year when I actually got in the Australian merit team for under 15s.
Oh wow!
For the school stuff. So that's when I was like, oh, maybe this can be my sort of thing, and I can make something out of it. So
because when you really sit down and think about it, to make an Australian side as a teenager, you're in the best 18, maybe 20 of the whole country.
Well, the merit teams they only pick 13.
Oh really?
They literally pick because you don't actually play.
You just get picked. Okay.
It's just like a merit team, so you just
wow.
So it's just 13. So yeah, to get picked in that, I was like, oh wow,
that's crazy.
One of the 13 best players in the country at my age. So,
do you remember any other players in that age that went on to play NRL?
Yeah, there's a few. I think Jack Bird was in there. I think. Also, I think Alex Johnson was there. Off the top of my head, I think there's definitely a couple more in there.
Yeah, wow.
I remember a lot of the rep teams I played with throughout my career. A lot of them progressed to first grade, so which is pretty crazy.
Well, I guess when you think about it, don't get me wrong, there's still a lot of development needed to be done, but to be in the best 13 of the country, you got to be freaking good at what you do, especially with not only in the best 13, but you're the best in that position essentially. Obviously you might have 2 positions, but okay, so that's when you really sat down and went, oh, this could be actually a path for me, kind of thing. And so when the Dragons, were they did you come straight out of school into a first grade squad, or did you go into reserve grade?
So that was the 20s era. So
okay.
Which, going back and looking at our team, literally, I think 16 out of 17 blokes from that starting side played NRL. So we had Jack Bird, Adam Clune, Jackson Hastings, Matt Duffy. Yeah, the list goes on. But yeah, so I did 1 year in 20s going to uni, and then the next year straight into first grade, and I'm lucky enough to make my debut my first year of training with them, round 3, and played every game since.
Wow, far out. Okay, so do you remember the conversation though when they said we want you to come down to train at first grade?
It was sort of set up in my contract. It was like a stepwise thing. So I sort of knew that was where
that was going to happen.
It was sort of nearly guaranteed.
Which
is pretty lucky enough to do that.
And so what do you remember from, because usually when you roll into that first grade for the first time, the intensity's through the roof and the size of the players and the strength. Do you remember anything from that first pre-season, a session or a player or anything like that?
I just remember being so hungry, to be honest. It didn't faze me that I was sort of going up against players that have played Australia, and that was sort of like a test for me. I wanted to prove that I sort of belonged there. Josh Dugan helped me out a fair bit there at the start. Benji Marshall was my half for a bit there, and then them sort of blokes, Jack DeBell and Mitch Rain, took me under their wing. So it was a really smooth transition because they were the next older blokes, Mitch Rain and Jack DeBellin, so which they're 4 and 5 years older than me. So there was a bit of an age gap there. So I think they sort of put me under the wing most of the team and looked after me and sort of made me progress, I think, pretty quickly.
Yep.
And then obviously starting my first game, round 3, and sort of, played well that game and sort of end up being a bit of a mainstay for the team.
Yep. But the year before that, or was this? It would have been the year before that you would have made the New South Wales under-20 side, but you had to pull out due to injury.
Yeah, so I actually got injured at training for them. Yeah, I think it was like 2 days before the game. I tweaked my hammy a little bit. So
no way. So, was this your first New South Wales side that you'd made?
I played. So the funny thing is, I got picked for the 16s Origin side from the country. They don't ever really do that.
Yeah, okay.
I didn't actually trial. I didn't play Harold Mats
or
anything like that. So I just played rep footy for country, and then they picked me in the side. So I was on the bench for that, and ended up getting man of the match for that game.
No way.
Off the bench. I think someone got injured, so I ended up playing most of the game. And so it was pretty crazy getting picked from the country.
100%.
When a Harold Mats comp's so strong, it's like the best of the best. So I must have been doing something right.
I guess that's where a lot of your confidence come through when you did get into the first grade squad. Like you'd achieved so much from positions where you probably doesn't usually happen. That I guess you're in your head, you're like that just builds confidence because you're just like ticking boxes, going, okay, well, if I'm playing really well against guys my age, the best in the country, then surely I'm going to be ready to play in the first grade squad. So your debut though, do you remember the phone call at all?
I was actually in contract negotiations with the Dragons at the time.
Yeah, okay.
It's sort of like, we'll play you if you sign. There was a bit of them ones going on. So, as they usually always use different strategies like that. It's a business world in the end, isn't it? So, I agreed to terms because I wanted the opportunity to play, and they sort of weren't going to announce it. I think one of the centres, they're going to pretend he was still playing, so just to take the pressure off me a little bit, but. Nothing gets kept secret in rugby league, does it? It doesn't take long for someone to find out that I'm making my debut. So, and then went down to Canberra, which is actually my dad's follows the Raiders. He's always been a passionate Raiders supporter. He's from Canberra. It was pretty cool because I've been to that stadium a few times as a kid, going up to watch the Raiders play. So it was pretty surreal going down there and having my mates on the sideline because it's pretty close to home as well. So it was a good game, and I think we come back from like 16-0 down to beat the Raiders or whatever. It didn't start that great. I made a bad read on the edge and let in a try.
Oh no!
But I turned it around and had a really good game after that.
So the old man didn't try to push you into being a Raiders fan. He allowed you to be the Doggies fan.
Raiders sort of let me slip through the cracks a little bit. I went to a camp for the Raiders when I was younger.
Yeah.
But it was like a training camp, and they didn't really follow up. And just end up. That's when the Dragons picked me up. So
interesting. So
who knows if they might have been pushed me that way? Who knows? But they just never pursued it, and that's when the Dragons come in and swooped.
Yeah, wow. And so your old man would have been like, please, Raiders, pick him up because he loved him.
No, he was good. He never put pressure on me in that sense. Like even to support them as a kid, he was pretty happy for us to make our own choice. So which is pretty cool.
Okay, so your debut though. Aside from obviously the read initially, is there anything you remember from it at all? Like looking across in the changing room, you've got the kit on, because you would have been like 18, 19?
Yeah, 19.
19 years old, which is so young for a debutant.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
Not really. Like it just sort of, I just sort of tried to play the way I did, and like again, it sort of gave me belief when I got on the field and I was taking runs and I was still breaking tackles and stuff like that. So I was like, well, I can be good at this, and and that's you look at your projection, you're like, I think I can even go further and further, and then you realise how hard of a beast rugby league is, and you even have to have a little bit of luck in the teams you have. Like not many players are getting looked at when you're coming in the bottom 4 of the comp A, so there's more eyes on the teams of winners because everyone wants to be a winner. So so progression was going pretty good, but it also, like now I'm getting older now, it makes you look back and go, well, I didn't leave any stone unturned, I don't think. But, there's always where if I stayed here or moved to another club, you know, there's always that guessing game. But but even now, just the desire for win is even more through the roof because I haven't had that chance to win as much as I'd like. And I think, going in this year, that's the sole focus. Like it's money and that doesn't matter anymore. It's more just about putting out in the field and getting some wins. And I think, and that was the toughest choice between Rabbitohs and Dolphins is because, who's going to offer me the best in that respect. And I still don't know. It's an undetermined question, but other factors around that made it easier to come to South.
Yeah, because it is really one of those things where you can kind of be like, oh, I hope that South are going to go really well, but Dolphins could end up doing better than South the next year, and you're just never really. Rugby league is so crazy. Like,
well, it's happened to me before, to be honest.
Oh,
I left Warriors, and then the next year they, I got player of the year before with the Warriors and left, and then all of a sudden they turned things around. So it's just, it's just there's a lot of luck, and got a new coach, and who seemed like he really did a good job over there. So we were probably lacking a good coach at the time. To bring everyone together, because there's a lot of different cultures. Warriors, you got Aussies there, you got Islanders and everyone down there. So it's just about balancing all that and getting everyone together. And I think Webby obviously did that year and got everyone playing well and really got them into the grand final. So it's one of the things you're like, geez, if I stayed, whether I helped. So, but at the end of the day, you got to be. At the time, I thought it was the right decision for myself and my family, and we wanted to have a family and be closer to family as well, which we were in Queensland. And then, it's. Things change, but I know my career's there's not many years left, so you want to do the best of what you can in them years, and the desire to play finals is number one for me.
Round 6 at your debutant year though, you scored your first NRL try against the Doggies. Poetic.
I know it is, but I can't. That was one of the best feelings I've ever had in my life, is scoring that first one. I thought it might have come a bit quicker than, I think it might have been 3 or 4 games in. It might have been 4 games in. So as a centre and wing, you sort of want to be scoring tries. But come along eventually, and then got it, and there's pure joy when I touch that ball down. And because I suppose most of my tries didn't come from kicks either, so it was sort of, I felt like I was developing as a player by scoring off like a grubber and chasing through. So it was cool.
And at this stage, was Mary McGregor your coach?
Yes, he was,
and so that first year, though, great debutant year, 23 matches. You also played for the Prime Ministers. And had you travelled before going to Port Moresby before, or you'd always been? This was the first overseas trip?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty cool actually going overseas. It's a different world over there. The PNG family, fans over there are pretty crazy. They run after the bus and they want any piece of NRL clothing they can get. So they storm the field after the game. So it was definitely pretty cool. Yeah.
And so to get selected in that though, were you like, damn, this is, a first year to get selected is pretty good.
That's what I mean, but talking about the projection things, you sort of think your career is going to keep progressing, and it was going pretty good at the time and all the rest of it. And you just never know what happens and different things, and team wasn't going good. So, you can only blame yourself. Take your part in whatever you do in that sense, but you would have liked to be in better teams that sort of perform better, and at times we sort of did. It was weird. Dragons always seem to start really well, and then it's like we ran out of steam a quarter of the way through the season. So I don't know what it was, whether we did train too hard. I don't know if you can do that, but our pre-seasons, they were some of the hardest pre-seasons I've ever done in my life, was at the Dragons. They were intense. You were on the field going like, when is this stopping? But we were battle ready by the time we started the year, but whether it took too much out of us, it's hard to say.
Because there were periods of round 10, you'd be on top of the table.
Yeah,
and then exactly. Just
I'm pretty sure. Well, that's for my debut year. I think we won 7 in a row. I was like, how good is this? Thinking it's easy, but the NRL's not easy.
No.
It's every game is challenging. Any team can beat you on any day. So it's a difficult game. It's getting faster. There's boys that are getting bigger that are also fitter. So you're sort of starting to. Everyone's becoming more athletic. It's only get faster, and the games seem to growing as well. So it's exciting to be part of, and just hope I can finish my career well.
And so the next year, though, you played in the Nines, but you get selected for New South Wales Country against New South Wales City. You played centre, you scored a try, and I guess you just kind of alluded to it there. But the first year or two in your career, there really is a trajectory of maybe even Origin. What were you think? First of all, getting selected for Country, was that an exciting time for you? Was it okay, this is a natural progression forward? You'd made the Prime Ministers the year before.
Oh, definitely excited. At that stage, I wasn't really thinking Origin at all. I thought that was going to be a chance down the line. but yeah, I'm from the country, very proud to be from the country, and I remember watching them games as a kid and always sort of wanting to be out there, and you get a little bit of taste of that when you're in Group 16 as you progress and get picked up for country team as well. So I was pretty excited to play in that game, and we actually had a really good team for that match, but somehow didn't win. So it sort of put a bit of a
Who was your coach?
The balloon. Craig Fitzgibbon.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it's cool to get experience. He was a really cool dude, and you could tell he was going to be a good coach.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It seems like he's doing a good job with Cronulla anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. And so when you're at the Dragons, you're a centre that's kind of, known for your tackle breaks and, very kind of like aggressive centre. I guess what was your highlight from the Dragons then?
I think it was just the amount of good relationships I built down there.
Yeah.
We sort of bit topsy-turvy with our performance on the field. Played some really good footy down there though. Even 2018, I remember Phil Gill told me it was a flip of a coin between me and Jimmy the Jet. So, which is disappointing to hear in a sense because you're fraction off there. And you don't know. That sometimes builds a bit more confidence. A bit more belief. But even though I've always been a pretty confident guy and I've always backed myself and not someone that sort of tries to go on their shell or anything like. That's like with coaches. I remember Wayne come up to me. I remember having a conversation with Wayne about not really ever playing for coaches. I've always played for my family, the boys that are on the field with me and myself. And he was like, by the time you finish here at Dolphins, I'll get you to play for me, sort of thing. So, and we sort of started off a bit of a rocky road, me and Wayne. Like he, I don't know if he'll admit it, but I don't think he really was that keen on me at the start.
Oh, really?
Well, from what I heard from the boys, So I think Wayne's, once you've really, if you've pissed him off in a certain area he really doesn't like, it takes you a long time, if ever, you can get back.
Yeah.
I think I'd just come back from an injury and I was in pre-season training. I made a couple of bad reads because I'd been back row the year before and I was moving back into the centres.
Yeah.
And it sort of pissed him off. And then I ended up being in the training the B team the whole start of the pre-season and the rest of it. And he didn't trial me, he didn't start me. And then I eventually got a game for round one. The only reason he gave it to me was because he said he promised me a spot in the team.
Yeah.
So then over the progression of the years, sort of, I remember one time in a video session, sort of must have been starting to change his mind. And he goes, Euan, you're definitely most improved, but you started from a low base. The relationship's sort of grown from there, and obviously earned a few more runs on the board with playing back row, and we've got a good working relationship now, and I think that's why he probably showed faith in me to come down. So it's been a cool journey.
It's an interesting insight because like Wayne is always known as a man manager coach where he wants the players to play for him, like do anything for him, and it seems like that you had other motivations that he could. It's incredible how he can identify that. Like he's so good at going, all right, this is what makes him tick. This is what makes him tick. Did you know at the time that it was that you might have needed to change things, or was it a mixture of both? Like you kind of have to meet in the middle somewhere.
Yeah, you are right with like how he can pick that up because it's not like I just went up to him and said, "I don't play for you, coach."
Exactly.
So he sort of got that out of me along the way, and he's probably made me grow as a player and stuff like that. And it wasn't like I was having a bad preseason. That's why it was sort of hard for me to grasp. I was like, I've got the two reads wrong at training, but the rest of the preseason, I was, one of the fitted guys in the team. I was training really well. So it was also a little bit frustrating because, you want to always start training with the best team because you get the better reps, you train with better players, and they're the combinations you want to build. So it was a little bit frustrating, but I've obviously turned the corner and
there's a method to the madness.
And that's so now probably say he's the only coach I've actually sort of played for. Like in this is talking about NRL, because at the end of the day you sort of got to play for yourself and your players first because they're on the field battling out and doing the right thing by your family as well. So it's kind of cool. He sort of got that out of me, and we've had that conversation. And he was asking me a fair few times for the start of that first year Dolphins, and I sort of hadn't got there yet, sort of thing. So, but sort of since a lot of things happened since then, and you can definitely say that now.
Yeah, his ability to like know what makes each person tick, and you never know where Wayne Bennett is at. Like, is he dropping you because he's trying to get a reaction out of you, or is he actually dropping you because he's not happy with you, or is he really pissed at those two reads, or is he just trying to get you to is there so many different things you come to think
Well,
of?
that probably did help me deal with the adversity, like to accept it, but also not kick stones. And he probably wanted a reaction in that sense. And he showed that, it probably showed that I kept training hard, and I was always there. So that's probably why he had to give me the shot at the end as well.
Yeah. Well, it's one of the biggest lessons one of the young fellas learn is like, control what you can control. Like, you can't control what the coach thinks about you. You can't control whether you get selected or you don't get selected. Yep. All you can control is, do you train as hard as you possibly can, and do you play as hard as you possibly can? That's it. They're the two things.
100%. You get caught up in anything else, like,
it's pointless.
Yeah, you're wasting your time. You're stressing 100%. About the things you can't change, and that's why sometimes it's good if a coach will. Even if you are feeling that way, sometimes it's better to ask them the question, where am I standing, coach?
Yep.
Like, rather than lying in bed awake at night thinking, oh, what's he thinking here? What's he thinking there? It's better off just having a straight up and honest conversation. And to be honest, they respect that, So I've done that since I've been 19, like even asking Paul McGregor where I was standing and getting a shot for first grade. And I actually started a couple of trials and thought I was going to play round one, but he decided to give a couple of the veterans a go first, and then it come around. But it definitely did help me because it showed him that I was eager and ready and wanting that opportunity. So
makes his job easier too, because like it just takes that stress of communication away from him, because you can just boom. You just speaking of I guess adversity or whatever, mate. Brought to you by Menulog, who's currently in one of the greatest bounce backs all time. What has been the toughest point in your career where you've really needed to dig deep and come back a better version of yourself?
I think that the most challenging part of my career was probably, I probably wanted to stay at the Dragons for my whole life. I was pretty comfortable there, and sort of getting told that, I didn't really get told, or that was probably the worst thing about the whole thing was
no communication.
There was no communication whether they wanted to sign me or not, and it was sort of like, got to the point where I was like, I don't think they're going to sign me, so we've got to move on. And I'd signed the deal, kept it hush-hush, and that's when they finally, with Warriors, and that's when they finally come to me and go, look, we don't want to devalue and try to sign you on less here. We're happy for you to sort of go. And that was after I'd already signed. It was like sitting there, little but which I sort of had the impression anyway, like, I think they signed another centre at the time, and they'll move in a different direction. Coaches, Paul McGregor obviously got sacked, or left, sorry, and then Dean Young wasn't going to be the coach again, so I think they were moving in a different direction. I think where they get Hook down there after them, maybe.
Might have been Hook,
Yeah, so just dealing with that. Sort of you're pretty disappointed by it. You've put a lot of work in there, and to be able to sort of pick yourself up and make sure Warriors offered me a good opportunity over there, and didn't end up going over to New Zealand only for a few matches, but I was sort of excited about what they could bring in the team they were putting together, and I did enjoy my time with Warriors. I think they're a great club. They've got some good people there, and got my first player of the year there, so it was always going to be a soft spot for the Warriors there. And then what they did for the game too, like I was there a year after they started and all that sort of thing, but for all them blokes being away from their family and for so long, and for that first year, and it still wasn't easy because a lot of them Islander families, they're all real close. They've got everyone around each other's place all the time, so to take that away from them, it's a big part of their sort of well-being, but they dealt with it well, and it's just a shame with the team we had. I think we didn't perform well, whether that was coach or what, but a bit of ownership's got to come on the playing group, but looking back at that squad, it was pretty handy.
And so just with the Dragons, I mean, you'd debuted there, you'd spent essentially 5 seasons there. Was the most disappointing thing just a lack of communication, or was it actually having to leave the Dragons?
Yeah, it's probably a bit of both. Like, I'm a pretty direct person, as I've shown before. Like, I'd rather just have the conversation nice and early. We know where we both stand, and then you're not guessing either. No one wants to guess. So, and they might have been undecided at the time, so I get that. So I'm not unrealistic about it, but it sort of dragged on long enough.
Still communicate that.
Yeah.
Guys, we're just undecided.
Yeah. So, and whether they did or not, but yeah, I was sort of sitting there going like, are they still keen? Because I thought I was playing all right, but again, it doesn't help when your team's not winning.
Yeah. You're
thinking you're playing good, and you probably are doing your role as best you can, but when you're on the other side of winning, it's not great. So, and obviously we were sitting pretty low at the ladder at the time. So, things had to change.
And your relationship with Mary Gregor, I loved playing under him when he was a reserve grade coach of the Dragons. He actually, for me personally, he was great at communication. I'm not sure, but for me, he was so good. Like he would just walk straight up to you and be like, mate, this is what I'm thinking. And it could be brutal, but at least it's honest. What was it like for you personally?
Yeah, I think, Mary was pretty good. I can't thank him enough for giving him my first game, but I think he trusts me a fair bit there. And but I think as all coaches, there's a lot of pressure gets put on them, and then they probably get a little bit skewed from what they're probably better at. And I think that communication probably did fall down a bit, where he was telling blokes probably too late in the week whether they're playing or not, and then you
never know what's being told above him either. And that's what I wonder with that whole situation of the Dragons, like what was going on above. Anyway, that's just speculation, but
yeah, exactly. You never know. And as I said, they got a lot of stuff on their plate. Pressure from media, pressure from players wanting to play and not managers, trying to get the team sorted for next year. There's a lot on the plate, so I can understand it from that angle as well. But I feel like sometimes communication's a big thing in any walk of life. So if you can tell the team first couple of days of the week what's happening for the week, there might be a few injuries, so you go undecided with these positions just because we don't know if they're playing. But I feel that puts everyone at ease. Everyone knows what they're doing. Then you don't get the talking throughout the sessions and back end of the week. Oh, am I playing? You playing? So, which can't be. That's you're not focused on your game, what you need to control. So and even the other players who are interested in seeing who's playing or not. So I think that's one of the key aspects of coaching that sometimes coaches really stuff up. Yeah,
okay. And so I guess for you personally, when you were like, okay, this is just because it sounds like at that time of the Dragons, a lot of things were going wrong, whether it was communication, coaching, environment, recruitment, whatever. Because like not only is the coaching staff and the playing group not communicating the best with each other, but like even recruitment's not talking to you about whether they want to resign you or not. Yeah. And so when you fully made that, when do you reckon it was the moment when you've gone, you know what, like I'm going to make the decision to go rather than wait on them?
I think, to be honest, there's the pressure, like Warriors sort of didn't want to wait around and, keep them sort of guessing either. Yeah, okay. So sort of my manager sort of said it was probably my best interest to sort of make a decision.
Yep.
I went with it.
And so the Warriors, they offered you a 2-year deal, was it?
3-year deal actually.
3-year deal.
Yeah.
So you said yes to them, and so that means you left with a year to go on your contract then.
Yeah.
And so first of all, when you arrived at the Warriors, it was up in Sunny Coast or Gold Coast.
So we actually met so there was a split preseason, which was pretty interesting. Weird. So we had an Aussie. All the Aussie players were in Kiama.
Yeah, so strange.
All the Kiwi players were in New Zealand.
That is weird, bro.
So we had a split preseason. And then
what was that feeling? What was that like?
It was actually really fun in Kiama, to be honest.
Yeah, okay.
They looked after us down there at the Seabull, and we had a good crew down there, and it was pretty. Training was hard, but you saw obviously it was a bit limited in what you could do.
Yeah,
I had a good time down there, and obviously I was still in Wollongong too. All my mates and that was still up the road. So. And then we met in Tamworth as a big squad and did our training out there, which is quite hot. And I thought we were going to have a pretty good year, and that's sort of my debut game. I remember in the 20th minute. I think it might have been Kevin Proctor landed my ankle and had that all 3 ligaments were snapped or 2.5 were snapped or something like that. So and ended up playing the rest of the game for the debut game. And, so
jeez.
I ended up playing one game and having to have 10 weeks off. So,
oh no!
So it was a bit of a rough start there. But,
oh man!
But yeah, again, I feel like we had the right team. We just sort of could have put it all together at the Warriors for some reason.
And was this Nathan Brown the coach?
Yeah.
Yep. And so the second year though, you don't miss 10 weeks and you get Player of the Year that year.
Yep.
I guess leading into that year, was anything different? Was it because you got trained together? Like what do you reckon changed that year for you, if anything?
To be honest, I started playing back row the back end of the year before.
Okay,
so that was a funny story too, because it wasn't that he wanted to put me in the back row. It was just literally we had no one else to play there. He said, you're probably best suited to be able to play there and still do a job. So and then played against the Tigers, ended up scoring a couple of tries, had a really good game. And it's like, sorry, mate, you've played yourself into the position. I was like, no. So, like, as a centre, you sort of don't really want to go in. You do a bit more work and you like to get more attacking footy exposure and all that sort of thing. So I put up a bit of a fight the sort of back end of that year and was sort of like he was sort of used me a bit of both. He'd start me a back row, then he'd push me out in the centre sometimes, and I'd still play really good in the centres. So like I was like, yeah, see, I'm still going good there. So then they obviously made the decision to play me in back row full time, and just had a pretty good year. And I feel like it sort of lets my work ethic show. I'm a pretty hard working person, and to be honest, I sort of feel like it's easier to play better at back row than it is centre sometimes.
Because you can just I think with back row, when the game isn't working, you can still just rip and tear. You're closer to the ball, so you can go, you know what, I'm taking 15 carries. Or sometimes with centre, you've got to keep your shape. And so you can't afford to just go, I want the ball, especially if it's a team with other players that get the ball off more often than you. And so, did that just suit your nature, I guess, where you could just rip and tear if you want
the other thing with centre is when you're in a losing team, you're always under a lot more pressure. Yeah. There's a lot more tackling shape getting thrown at you and all that sort of thing. So
reads and
that. Make a lot more decisions in a game where when you're winning footy, you don't have to make as many. So you get to attack more, and that's when centre really starts to show its how fun it is, and you get more attacking footy. So I still centre's always been fun. I'm I don't know if I'd still like to play it anymore. I feel like I'm getting a bit older now, and I feel like back row suits me so much, and the way the game's going, and I can play 80 minutes comfortably, and that helps the forward rotation, and then you also it gives you confidence knowing you week in, week out. I'm not really worried about anything now. At centre, you're worried about what different shapes they're throwing at you, and who's playing what, and all the rest of it. And as much as I always take it as a challenge, you sort of are thinking about their best attributes, so you can sort of nullify them, and different shapes that players play, and especially there's even different shapes get thrown left to right, and some teams like to tackle left more, but majority seem to attack the right side more, so you get put under pressure a bit more. But so that's what's made me change, and that's probably what made me have a good year with Warriors that year, because I played back row the whole year, and my work ethic showed, because we didn't have a great year either. So
and I think with back row as well, is usually your job is to put pressure on the ball player. Usually, obviously it can change with the shape in that, but as you just said, when you're centre, it varies. So the shape, what plays are done on you, what kind of centre you've got. Are they a draw and pass? Are they a flick? Are they a footwork? Whatever. Whereas back row, usually it's how can I take as much time away from the ball player as possible. Okay, so that year, you win the Player of the Year. I guess throughout that year, you're playing so well, but at the same time, for family reasons, you're looking to stay in Australia. How was it balancing those two things for you?
Well, I actually had the conversation with Warriors pretty early, because I wanted to give him enough time to make the decisions and go out in the player market. I didn't want to leave him hanging, and so I actually talked to him after the first season Warriors.
So they were aware really, really early.
Yeah, they were really early. They were aware of it, and I thought that was probably the best way to go about it, to be respectful to them, because I know they gave me an opportunity, and it wasn't an easy decision. It wasn't I wanted to jump ship straight away. I was really unhappy at the club, but I think it was just sort of future planning, and it was going to be really hard being away from in New Zealand, and so me and my wife as a family made a decision that it's probably best interest for us to stay. We wanted to start a family, and wasn't sure how I was going that, and so it was a tough one, but ultimately we made that decision really early, so it was one we sort of had to stick with. Yeah,
it's funny. It's literally what I was talking about at the start of the potty about, when you do have a family or children, having that family unit around you is just crucial. Sure. Was it? I'm sure you never wavered from that decision at all. But when you start playing good footy, geez, you're going, okay, could I make it work? Is there a way where I don't know, visit? I don't know, something, because you're playing good footy.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah. That's you don't want to change what's not broken.
Exactly.
So I was definitely did run through my head, and because obviously I was at the time I was maybe I got one more last crack at centre, and I was still a bit conflicted positions wise, but that wasn't the reason I changed. I'm happy to just play 80 minutes anywhere I play. I've always wanted to be an 80-minute player, and but it was tough for the year. Playing good, and I was playing good, and things were starting to progress there, and thought we were a chance of playing some good footy, but sort of fizzled out. I feel like the halfway point when we thought we were probably a bit too far away, that sort of probably snowballed and made everything worse. I think Nathan Brown left, and by that stage it was probably too tough of a job for Stacey Jones to take over and to do too much with how short a time we had in the year. But it definitely was a tough decision. I remember going in and writing, signing off my my release thing, and that was probably when it hit me the most. I was like, sort of didn't really want to sign it yet.
Yeah.
But they tried to keep me to stay. They offered me a couple more years and stuff like that, and yeah, we stuck with the decision because we thought it was what was best for us, and we made that decision pretty early.
Yeah, and so that's obviously when the Dolphins come in, like, you know, it's easy to look back now and go, what a great decision. It's the Dolphins. It's been a really successful entry into the competition. But back then, like, the yarn around the Dolphins was like, no marquee signings. It's going to be a disaster. Like, what was the decision like for you?
Yeah, it was tough. Like, I remember going to a meeting with Peter O'Sullivan, Wayne, and I think Terry Reader, which is the CEO of the Dolphins. And I think they'd got over that question being asked because I asked it. Wayne sort of bit back at me and goes, don't worry about who we sign, we'll be good. So I think that was probably a lot of players were sort of asking, as you do, you don't want to sort of, everyone wants to sort of progress and go better than they were before, you know. You're
coming off like one of the best years of your career as well.
Yeah, exactly. So, so obviously make that decision. But yeah, it was tough because you were sort of intrigued and like we kept missing out on players and or people were getting stuff in the club around to get more money so they get some bigger deal somewhere else. So, but yeah, I think it sort of helped us in a way. At the end of the day, we come in with no superstars, no egos. Wayne was there, everyone was ready to go. You know, we still had some great players like Jesse Bromwich, you know, players like that, but it was probably untapped potential. But having a sort of really solid players across every position, and there was actually quite a bit of depth in the sense, like it wasn't a great deal, but probably more than most had because we had solid first graders, but there's no superstars. So it gave us a chance to work hard, and that's what we sort of tried to set our identity on, was like making every small effort count and working hard and trying to kick teams in corners and all that sort of thing. And it worked for us for quite a long time. And, but yeah, probably just sort of fair few injuries happened that sort of let us down. And once you start losing a bit of that quality, sort of it's hard to sort of compete with teams.
And I guess also, like, I'm not sure whether you use it to motivate you, but there is the option of the chip on your shoulder, going like every headline is about how our roster isn't good enough. It's like, well, let's show them how good our roster is.
That's another good point with Wayne. It's he knows how to inspire you in that sense, you know. So he's done that a few times where, you know, especially against the Broncos last time we played, and he was sort of saying they think they're better than us, and you know all that sort of thing. So yeah, he definitely does light a fire under your belly. So he's a good speaker in that sense, but he's also quite a funny guy as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So you arrive at the Dolphins, and was there anything unique about like arriving at the Dolphins? Was there anything that surprised you at all? We'll obviously get into that incredible round 1 victory, but just when you arrived.
Yeah, it was quite fun meeting a fair few players, and we had a big army camp which sort of really brought us together off our phones for 3 days. We actually wrote the team song at that army camp.
Oh, Matt.
Which is cool. We're all sitting down at a big table and everyone was sort of throwing out ideas. So, which is now the team song. So it's forever going to be part of their history.
That's sick.
I think they got a box on what we wrote on.
No way.
Framed up in the players' room.
That's sick.
But yeah, it was definitely different rocking up to Redcliffe. They're obviously a really well set up Queensland Cup side, yet to be first grade standard. So that was a bit sort of challenging working around, but still had really good facilities in that sense. Like, you know, had everything you need. It's probably the best way to describe it. Disappointing they missed out on their on the funding for their brand new players facility that was going to happen because the government changed. So that we would have got to experience that the second year, but they're still trying to get that through the government now. So, but yeah, it was definitely a different experience. And then obviously meeting Wayne and not knowing what to expect because he has that aura about him. Not really, to be honest. Nothing stands out, but he has that aura about it. Even now, noticing when he rocks up the south, like he sort of commands respect in the room. But you know, so everyone gets a little bit nervous around him, and like it's quite funny to see, like because I'm used to him now and just seeing younger boys and.
It was funny on the Rabbitohs Instagram. They showed him meeting Lewis Dodd for the first time. Yeah, and he was like, "Hey, who are you?" or something like that.
Pretty much.
And so Dolphins, you round 1. It's this crazy hype, and it's like, I'm assuming it's almost like your debut again. Like, the first ever game for the Dolphins in the NRL at Suncorp against the Roosters, who are premiership favourites, and no one gives you a chance. Like, literally no one. What is that feeling like to build up towards that game?
It did sort of feel like a bit of a debut because as I was mentioned before, I was playing back row the whole previous season.
Yeah.
So you sort of lose a bit of the touch a little bit with decision making and stuff like that. So I was pretty nervous. Like I knew they had a great squad, but we just turned up and sort of competed with them and stuck with them the whole game and ended up sort of running away with it at the end. And so it's you sort of players like, you know, your Force and Bromwich brothers and all that sort of thing. Like he's one of the best captains I've ever had, Jesse Bromwich. So I think he just sort of led the team around and we got belief off each other and we sort of didn't listen to the outside noise either. Like it was sort of like a fuck you. We want to show you that we can compete in the NRL. Yeah.
And so is there anything you remember on the ground? Like was there a moment when you go, we've got this or anything, or any tries or anything?
Yeah, it was definitely. I think it might have been Connolly Lemaluma who scored that try. Was it that game? I'm pretty sure he scored a pretty good try.
Probably.
And like, 'cause he was a bit of an unknown player for me too. He sort of progressed really well, and he's sort of become a mainstay in our Dolphins team. So he scored a really good try. I was like, wow, that was impressive. One, and then two, I think that was going to win us the game. So I think that'd be it.
And so, did you say you played centre in this game?
Yeah.
And at what point did Wayne go, mate, I need you in the back row?
It wasn't until. So I thought I was playing some good footy in the centre. It's like I'd start. Wayne does this, like he lets you become better at things. You know, some coaches might restrict you because they think you're probably not suited to that sort of thing. So I know for me, like throughout my career, like passing probably not one of my strong suits sort of thing. So, but we were doing a lot of practice with that Dolphins, and Wayne would keep making me practice and. I started getting way better with my handling. It's sort of like you sort of wish that happened earlier.
Yeah.
But it's funny because other teams will just like run the shape where you're leading or do stuff like that. So it sort of limits your progress in that sense. So I remember Wayne was like letting us do that and really wanted us to be able to adapt and do different things like that. So thought I was playing some pretty good footy, but then I think they signed Jakey Averillo, and I was like, oh okay, maybe they're sort of going another direction in that sense. So. I still had another year to run, so I made the decision to sort of go up to Wayne, start a pre-season, knowing they've signed really two good centres there. I'm probably not going to be first pick, so played good in the back row, and I was like, all right, Wayne, do you want me to train both in the backs and forwards this pre-season? So then the way we had it structured was Monday and Thursday with backs and forwards days. So you'd either start early and the backs would do their training and then do gym together, and the forwards would train after them, just because they're doing key skills sort of things, and they didn't want all the squad doing the same thing in them sort of days because you know there's different roles with backs and forwards. So I just started doing that and trained with backs one week, forwards the next, and sort of vice versa. And then I sort of thought I played pretty good, tried pretty good, and thought I was going to get picked round one, but didn't. So I was like, oh no, he sort of just said he wanted to go with the guys that were there last year, giving crack in back row, and they ended up getting pumped the first game. I ended up playing really good in cup and sort of another test of your character to see how you go. And then I was in the next week and we went on a little run again. So and then just sort of, but he started really liking me after that, I think.
And like pretty much back row now for good, or what do you reckon?
I think so. Yeah, I like to have that versatility in my game. Like you know, if someone gets injured on the field, I'm happy to go out there. You know? I think that's important for a coach too.
Gives you an extra bench spot.
Yeah, when you're picking a team, you know, well, Euan's there, he can play back row and centre, so I don't need to stash a centre on the bench, or you know, I can have 4 forwards, or you know, still might go with 2 hookers. So it gives them options. Yeah.
And mate, we ask all the guests this, but what makes you grumpy? And what turns your frown upside down? Brought to you by Grumpy Coffee. Head to grumpycoffee.com.au. Grab yourself some coffee, the best coffee in all the land. We got pods, we got beans, we got it all. Grumpycoffee.com.au.
Grumpy coffee, hey? So what makes me grumpy is probably chores around the house. Hate doing the washing. I'm a bit of a clean freak, so I like things in order. But and what makes me happy, I'd say my family.
Family?
Yeah.
Like that. I like that, mate. I think we're actually quite similar. Except I'm not a clean freak. I just hate cleaning. Heading into this year, like, you know, you can't predict the way, you know, everything's going to go. But is it genuinely like the number one motivator for you right now is to play finals footy, is to do that as much as you can whilst you can. You're 29 years old. I'm assuming you've got a good 4 or 5 years left in you, you'd hope. Is that the main goal now for you?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I sort of want to push for greater things, you know. So finals is definitely up there and even higher than that. And I'd love to win a grand final. You know, this is going to be my 11th season, so I played one finals game. I probably should have played another 2, but I got injured before finals. So which is it's probably one of the longest sort of streaks outside the finals. I know at least I played one first year, but where Brooksy had a big streak before he even got there. But so at this point in time, you know, like I feel like I can really add value to the South Sydney Rabbitohs and the way I have my work ethic and playing back row there, and that will help, I think, some of their superstars. Because I'll be so strong defensively to help them out, and so that way they get the ball, we sort of can turn things around and not leak as many points.
And mate, you're coming up to 200 NRL games. What's that to? I mean, when you're in it, you probably don't appreciate it as much as maybe when you retire. But like, mate, 200 NRL games is pretty incredible.
Yeah, well, I've always said that I'd love to play 10 years of NRL, and I've done that now. So games was always not necessarily the most important thing, but now it's starting to look at it and you're like, well, now like 200 is definitely, you know, you're a really solid first grade. You played for a long time then. So, and I've probably missed 40 games for injury, so it could be even more. But yeah, I just want to keep progressing and have a really good year for Souths. You know, everything else is sort of extra. And
you know, you haven't had like crazy amount of injuries, but you have had injuries that have kept you out for a while. Was there any point in your career where you thought, shit, like, is this going to work out for me the way I kind of envisioned it early on at all? Or you always were very confident you get back on the field and you'll get back to where you want to be?
Yeah, mostly with most injuries, you know. Like I had a really bad run of hamstring injuries where I was like, why do I keep doing my hamstring? It was quite frustrating because soft tissues, you know, no one's around when you do them usually. So it's like, it's a hard one to get your head around. And then, so that was probably difficult to deal with. Like I was always confident I was working hard, that I was like I'd get it right and all that sort of thing, and touch wood, that sort of happened. But yeah, you always deal with rugby league's such a hard game, and I'm not the biggest body on the field either, so you get thrown around a little bit here and there, but hopefully do the same amount on the other side. But so definitely play above my weight, I feel. I'm not too heavy, so yeah, you definitely deal with a few different things like that. And same thing, I'm going through an injury right now, getting back from my pec and a couple of other things there. So the older you get, the more you sort of have to look after your body and rehab, and sort of takes you longer to warm up. So that's why it becomes harder for players, you know. Where a young fellow can just sort of jump on the field and be ready to go, you sort of have to prep well and look after your body, and that way you sort of cover all bases. Yeah.
And mate, 5 games for the great Scotland. How did that come about? Stoked to put on the Scottish jersey or what?
Oh, of course, yeah. It's sort of a bit of a lost part of my life. My grandfather died when my dad was 2, so he didn't get to spend much time with him and didn't really get to see that side of the family much. It's all sort of really lost even to this day. So sort of going back to the roots a little bit there, and made my dad really proud. And then I had an awesome time. The 4 Nations we had was such an incredible experience. We ended up drawing with New Zealand that year, which was sort of unheard of from a Tier 2 nation, and probably could have won. I reckon it might have gone for a bit more of aggressive strategy and gone for a field goal, but we didn't end up doing that in the end. So it's pretty exciting to go over there and experience them and meet some of the Scottish lads, and sort of the team we can still create today with the Scottish team is pretty good. We've got David Clement, he's got Scottish heritage, Nico Hines, Campbell Graham, just to name a few off the top of my head.
Big stretch.
Yeah, so whether he's playing Australia or not, but I'd like to get the team stronger back. I don't know if we even can qualify for the World Cup, but if we can do a couple of things over the next couple of years to get that happening, it would be great.
And mate, I ask all the boys this, but favourite rapper of all time?
Favourite rapper of all time? It probably has to be Eminem.
Mate,
the OG, you know, he's one of them guys you sort of listen to as a young kid. That Curtin Cole album was sort of come around when I was younger. That's the main one that sticks out for me.
And favourite movie of all time?
I like the Lord of the Rings, to be honest. I think it's sort of got a bit of nostalgia too. It was when I was growing up, it sort of was that their movies were coming out, and just watched the new series and that too. And I know it probably didn't go as well as they sort of planned, but I still enjoyed it. So yeah.
You enjoyed the new series?
Yeah.
I fucking hated it. Oh man, I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan.
Well, that's it. If you buy the book, it probably didn't do it justice.
Oh, killed me. I actually went to like a concert on the weekend where they play like the Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones theme songs on violins. And I tell you, every time the Shire music comes on, it hits, baby. It hits every time. It's so
does,
good.
Game of Thrones is also mad.
100%. 100%. And in regards to like your study, I guess like, you know, I'm assuming the obvious answer is after footy you'd like to go into some kind of financial advice or whatever, but is that the case? Is that something, or do you want to get another degree? Like, what's the plan?
No, that's the idea. Yeah, I'd like to branch out, help people in all walks of life, just to put things in place and make their lives a little bit less stressful, because there's also the side of things where, yeah, they might make your money grow, you might save money, but it's also the peace of mind they give you that you're doing the right thing and got your money in the right places, because it's half guesswork, isn't it, sometimes, whether you're buying the right spot or putting your money in the wrong places. You just don't want to waste your money in the wrong things. And I think having a financial advisor or a financial planner in your corner really helps that. Yeah.
Mate, thank you so much for coming on, bro, and I cannot wait to see you boys this year, the Rabbitohs. I reckon you've got a gun side, fully fit. Cannot absolutely wait to see you play, mate. So good luck for the season.
Thanks for having me. Cheers, bro.